Hi everyone, happy Wednesday. Welcome back. We're going to continue our work with theme today, and we are going to be keeping our same target. However, we're just going to change the type of genre that we're going to be reading. So far this week, we have looked at some short Pixar films and some short passages with characters. But today, we're going to look at a fable. And we're going to be working through one together, and then you guys are going to be working through some things on your own as you work through your independent packet. All right, so we're going to be looking at a fable today and then a different fable tomorrow to kind of wrap up our theme topic this week. Okay, so today we're going to be determining the theme of a fable and providing 3 pieces of evidence to prove our thinking. So basically, it's going to look very similar to our first 2 lessons this week. It's just going to be a different genre, a fable. So by now, you should be familiar with what theme is. We've had a couple of days to tackle this and work through some reading on our own. So theme is the message or lesson an author wants a reader to take away from a story, a fable, a film. Okay, there's many different types of fictional genre that we've looked through this week, and we're going to continue to work through. All right, so some of those common themes that we've been finding are friendship, teamwork, kindness, hard work, bravery, responsibility, cooperation, honesty. There are many. These are not the only positive traits that come out of literature. However, these are just a lot of the ones that often we see. All right, so today we're going to switch over to a fable that's pretty popular that you've probably heard before by Aesop, The Tortoise and the Hare. Okay, and then we're going to look through what key details help us in that fable to determine a theme. Okay, so remember, 3 pieces of evidence, always to back up your thinking. So as I'm reading aloud to you, I want you to think about what are some details I can use to prove my thinking? All right, so here we go. The Tortoise and the Hare. One day a hare was bragging about how fast he could run. He bragged and even laughed at the tortoise, who was so slow. The tortoise stretched out his long neck and challenged the hare to a race, which, of course, made the hare laugh. My, what a joke, thought the hare. A race indeed, a race? Oh, what fun. My, a race of course, Mr. Tortoise. We shall race, said the hare. The forest animals met and mapped out the course. The race begun, and the hare, being such a swift runner, soon left the tortoise far behind. About halfway through the course, it occurred to the hare that he had plenty of time to beat the slow-trodden tortoise. Oh my, thought the hare, I have plenty of time to play in the meadow here. And so he did. After the hare finished playing, he decided that he had time to take a little nap. I have plenty of time to beat that tortoise, he thought, and he cuddled up against a tree and dozed. The tortoise in the meantime continued to plod on, albeit it ever so slowly. He never stopped, but took one good step after another. The hare finally woke up from his nap. Time to get going, he thought, and off he went faster than he had ever run before. He dashed as quickly as anyone could up to the finish line, where he met the tortoise, who was patiently awaiting his arrival. All right, so now thinking back at what the key details of that fable are, we can point out a couple of things. All right, so we can point out that the hare took a break, right, to play in the meadow because he thought he had plenty of speed on the tortoise. So that helps us to kind of visualize or think about our theme. So that's one detail from the fable. A second detail that stood out to me was that the hare took a break and had a nap. So that's another piece of evidence that backs up what the hare was doing. A third piece of evidence that I noticed was the tortoise never stopped and slowly kept his pace. So that proves that the tortoise kept a steady pace, right? He kept moving even when the hare stopped and took a nap. So let's think about this question for a moment. How do these events or pieces of evidence help us to determine what the theme is? And a second question to think about is, what character traits did each of the characters possess that led us to a conclusion? So before we can just figure out what a theme is, we have to figure out, what are the characters doing? What are their traits? What is their motivation? Okay? What are their feelings in the story, or in this case, fable, that help them to get to what we're going to learn or get out of the story as a takeaway? So because the tortoise never stopped, it showed that he was what? He persevered. He was persevering through a challenge. He knew he was the slower of the two animals, right? But he kept on persevering and never gave up and kept trying. The hare was a little bit too confident, overconfident, I would say, because he thought, well, I'm the faster of the two animals, and I, without a doubt, are gonna win this race. But he got a little bit greedy with that and decided he would take a nap, and that proved that he was a little too sure of himself. And it ended up that the tortoise kept moving at his own pace and was able to win the race. So those character traits of both the hare and the tortoise kind of set the stage for how the fable ends. So as a result, that leads us to our theme. Slow and steady wins the race. So it's not necessarily about speed, but it's about finishing, right? Just like in life, where things might get tough, but we have to keep persevering and working through it until we can reach our goals. It might take us a little bit longer than others, but as long as we finish, that's what counts. So that is what we should be learning or taking away from this fable. So what you're going to be doing today in your independent work is going to be reading some short passages and answering some questions in your practice packet in Google Classroom. So you'll be completing the page labeled practice. There are 4 questions, numbers 1 through 4. You'll read the short passage and then determine the theme. Read a short passage, determine the theme. There's just 4 questions. All right, and then tomorrow we're going to be looking at a second fable together, and then you'll also do some work on your own through theme. All right, so hopefully you're learning a lot and taking away a lot of life lessons reading these passages, and can make some connections in your own life. All right, so remember, tomorrow, one more video this week, and then we will have our fun Friday read aloud of the next chapter of our chapter book. All right, guys, work hard today and do your best. See you next time.